All right. Welcome, everybody. Good morning, Mr. Voss. How the heck are you?
Good morning, Brian. How are
Wow.
you?
Dude, you're a shock jock, I mean, seriously.
There you go, baby. Welcome to the coffee and bacon, or the bacon and coffee.
It's
I'm not sure what order it's
it's
supposed to be in.
it's bacon and coffee, man. You got to
The
have coffee.
bacon and coffee.
Yeah.
Do I have to have bacon right now?
No, you
Or
don't have to
I
bacon.
can have bacon later?
Yeah, you don't even have to have coffee, man. I mean, it's all good.
I'm still waiting for the Lipitor to kick in.
Well, hey, whatever works for you, So for those of you, by the way, you guys can put comments in. We can see them. They will show up in Facebook Live. I've got Facebook on one side. I've got LinkedIn on the other. If I don't see them, I'll try to jump around and see if I can get them while Chris is telling us all the details about all the cool stuff he's going to tell us about. All right, Mr. Waldsman's here. So we got our first comment. So that means that comments are working, dude. So it's all good. Yeah. So thank you, Jeff, for letting us know. So anyways, Chris is coming live from Utah, and you used to be in Lost Wages, but you moved to Utah for family, right? I mean, that's a big
For the
thing.
coronavirus, right?
Yeah. So because you had to deal with your I want to be respectful. You lost a sibling to coronavirus. I'm really sad about that, man.
Yeah. It made it really worse. We had two sisters in care center, but now I have one. But yeah. But I'm just here for the coronavirus on the coronavirus tour.
CB tour, man. Yeah, it's your CV. So anyways, let me tell you about Chris. Chris is one of the top social influencers in the world. Top 50 according to Forbes, man. He got what, 400K followers, 500K. What's the number now, man? It's hard.
I think it's under 400K somewhere.
Yeah, I researched you, but your info is just like not up to date. So you don't spend a lot of time updating your info. So I want everybody to understand that this is the Chris Voss. There are two Chris Vosses. And he gets mistaken for this other guy in Clubhouse all the time. He is the husky negotiator. He's got two dogs, Frey and Rocky. He is not the hostage negotiator, right? Mm-hmm. You get confused about that all the time, man. Although you could probably do hostage negotiation.
I'm usually the hostage taker is the problem. So
this is true.
Someday I'll meet him.
I have been your hostage on Clubhouse a few times, which we're going to dig into. Yes, I've jumped on board, and I've had a blast with you on there. But here's the thing, people. If you don't know Chris does the Chris Voss Show, and it is a podcast. It's a YouTube channel. Are you looking at your dogs, or are you looking at your show? Yeah,
I was just trying to figure who you're talking about, and then I realized it says that on my hat.
So it says on your hat. It says it on your background. You know what I love about your background, your hat, man? It matches my brand so well. It is perfect. The blue is perfect.
I designed that 13 years ago for you.
And that's the whole thing, man. I went to a psychic, and she told me which color to pick.
I saw this moment coming like 13 years, and I'm like, someday I'm going to be on Brian's Bacon and Coffee podcast.
And there it is.
And we must have simpatico with the color of blue.
Yes, we do have simpatico. So one of the things I want to do too is we got tons of simpatico, man. And so I want to share my screen here because let's go here and let's go to here and share that screen because I want to bring up the Chris Voss Show. And that right there, my friend, it's like psychedelic. Can you see my screen now? Are you seeing that?
I'm having flashbacks from the 60s, man.
Yeah.
I still got that plate in my head from Nam, man.
Yeah. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some guy with a really bad goatee in a black and white photo.
Yeah, but that's you, dude. And you had two great episodes, and you were the introduction to my 500th episode, which is epic.
You didn't have my police lineup photo for this?
No, I don't, man. Oh. But and one was lay off the rah-rah, or B-sauce and get back to basics. I love that one. That was a great interview, man. That was a lot of fun.
I would have my parole office send you over a photo of me. I have a newer one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you should. You should send me the newest one, man, because that's that's what I think is important. But you look great, man. You know.
Yeah. The nice thing about getting arrested too is you find out how tall you are. I mean, I like to just go in and check every few years.
How tall are you?
I don't know. I have to go color pro agent. I think I'm 6 or 6'1". I'm at that point of old age where I'm starting to go back down. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But every now and then I just get arrested just so I can check my height. It's kind of like nice. When when you're a kid, your dad would do that for you. They'd mark the the door, right? Yeah, I miss that. So
well, now you get the state police to do it for you.
Yeah,
you know, that's cool. So, anyways, check out episodes 343 and 409 on the Bacon Podcast, and episode 500, because that is the most epic opening of any 500th episode show. The celebration show ever. I mean, it was just epic. And the funny thing is, you were just riffing, and it just was so perfect.
So like, here, I'll just blast out some bits, and you can see if one sticks to the wall.
Exactly.
And one did, and you like grabbed it, you peeled it off slowly.
It was perfect though, man. I loved it. So So anyways, I'm gonna pull it back here.
I hear that a lot, actually.
I love playing with this StreamYard stuff, man. It's like it's fun because I get to do cool things. Like I could make you the full screen. There you are. Now it's all focused about you, man.
Way too much Chris Voss. There's laws against that.
Yeah, I know, man. That's all good. Anyways, so guys, if you have any questions as we go along, let us know. Now, the new version of the Chris Voss Show, when I first met you, you were doing basically review of products, which you still do, right, man? Because you're constantly putting on Facebook and LinkedIn and everywhere and Twitter, all these cool things that you get. So how did that start? I mean, how did you get into the, product review biz? Yeah. Oh, there. What?
How did I get in the product review biz? So I started the blog out, like, I think 12 years ago. It was August 2009. So whoever's good at math, look that up. Also, it's 9 a.m. on Saturday morning, and I can't calculate that low. My writer says that if you read it from the show, says that I don't do math this early in the morning, but I am still missing that bowl of M&Ms that are all just the blue ones. Are there blues? So anyway,
there can be. Well, especially around Easter, they have like special colors.
Yeah. See, I knew that.
Yeah.
I think. So I started at what was it? August of 2009, and the Chris Voss Show, and I wasn't sure what to name it, and I was like, screw it, just name it the Chris Voss Show, and then if I decide to change it in the future, it's just like whatever Chris Voss talks about. So I was doing social media marketing and helping people with their Twitter and all that good stuff. I was one of those early adopters, if you will, or early adapter. I'm not sure how it goes. But
I had to buy an adapter yesterday, man. I got a new camera yesterday, new Logitech, and because it's so much better. The technology has changed so much so
Logitech
fast.
is so good. We review a lot of them.
Yeah,
it's just I never found anything to beat it. So we were I was doing all this consulting, and I was doing videos and early radio, Block Talk Radio, and I was working with Clout, and I was on a secret Clout board. If you remember Clout,
I do.
K-L-O-U-T. And I was a secret Clout board that would advise Clout. And part of the Clout deals, they started sending you products to, like, kind of like use as an influence or whatever.
I remember that.
Yeah, and I'd seen people doing like unboxing videos on YouTube, and so I'm like, well, I should do that and just put it on YouTube. And back then, I was trying to get my YouTube partner account to get paid. So I did a few videos and like just took off, and I'm like, this is really easy. And then I get free stuff. And so I did a few more videos, and it like really took off. And like within, I think 4 or 6 months back then, I was in their really private, private pay, approval thing account, partner account.
Nice.
And so they say, hey, look, this guy's on the show. Oh, that's me. The ChrisVossShow.com. So it's almost, there's like a whole branding thing going on right here, except for my shirt.
Yeah. You need to work on that, man. I mean, it's on the mic, it's on the head, it's on the background. It's, just in case people don't know how to get to your show,
Yeah. I've had people show up on the show and they're like, holy crap. Like, people from CNBC and MSNBC are like, holy crap, man. You got some real marketing going on there, buddy. So I've been doing it ever since, and it rock and roll for me. And then I kind of eventually I got bored with social media. We did start the podcast 12 years ago, whenever that was, the same time we started the show, and we didn't stick with it. We kept on and off in it for the last for all these years, but the last 3 years we've really laid it down.
Yeah, no, you've kind of switched modalities, or have you done new shows? I mean, is it different? Because
No.
so you're doing these book reviews, and I mean, you've had some just incredible people on. Frank Figluzzi, who's an FBI dude, Peter Strzok, who is in the middle of the whole, yeah, we won't go there, but and Eddie Glad Jr., who's dude's brilliant, man. He's I think he's a professor at Princeton. Is that right?
Yeah, the guy's really smart, Eddie Glad Jr. What we did is we up until I think this last year, I should say. I'm still trying to go over the PTSD of 2020. So I don't know what year it is anymore. Clearly, I don't know what year it is half the time anyway. So anyway, back in 2020, 50 years ago, we took and I normally I'd have CEOs on. I'd have CEO entrepreneur books. I'd have tech discussions, tech news. But a lot of times it was some sort of CEO of some tech company. When we do shows like CS at NAB and South by Southwest, we interview a lot of tech people. And so I just got so burnt out after all these years. And there was a chance to get a lot of book authors on the show. And when you get new book authors, they've written the latest book. It's hot on the presses. Everybody wants it. It's great SEO. And so I had the opportunity to interview some book authors that were right off the shelf, and they were hot nonfiction. And so I said, I'm going to open up the show because everyone's stuck in quarantine, and I'm sick of talking about just tech stuff all the time. I want to talk about life. I want to talk about politics, social justice, novels. I want to talk to some people that they put a lot of research in their product. And so I opened up the show to all the book authors. We don't do romance novels, of course, because there's only so many times I can say to somebody, so they had sex on the beach again for the 50th time in chapter 50. Oh my gosh. I just can't deal with that, but I can do nonfiction and history and stuff. So we opened up the show, and because of my following and audience, Simon Schuster and everybody's like, well, let's do it. And so we started just right after the coronavirus, having these brilliant guests on, authors that have multiple books. We usually take authors that are from the major publishers. And so, but these guys are like, a lot of these, we've had people on the show that are, all the hottest journalists, WAPO co-editors, New York Times, you name it, Wall Street Journal, all the latest, hottest books. We get them on the show and pound them out. We've come close to getting some really famous guests. At one point, we were trying to have John Dean on from the Watergate thing. The Rev was supposed to be on. Reverend Sharpton was supposed to be on. And Mary Trump, we came really close to getting. That was going to be a good get. We're still trying to get James Coney on this month for his book. It doesn't look like it's going to happen, but we've had some great guests and some brilliant discussion. These guys are whipping smart.
Yeah, you can always go back to search the Chris Voss show and listen to those, and it's on YouTube too. And I didn't grab that link, but
youtube.com/Chris Voss.
Simple enough. All right,
Chris Voss everywhere except for the .com.
That's right. So talk about let's jump into Clubhouse, because you've done obviously so many cool things. Now let me say one thing. All right. See, you're getting texts already, man. Is that somebody pinging you to go on Clubhouse? Seriously?
I think it's someone pinging my OnlyFans account. They probably want me to perform or something.
Yeah, probably. But I'm from Aurora, Illinois. Okay, and Aurora, Illinois is Wayne's World, right? And one of the scenes they go, "We're not worthy, and that's the way I feel about you in tech, man.
Yeah,
it's like
Milwaukee.
Yeah, you're just like you're a super geek. You're super geeky. I mean, it's like all of a sudden yesterday I jump on Clubhouse, and we'll explain what Clubhouse is to everybody. And all of a sudden you're broadcasting your podcast live on Clubhouse. And this is something that I don't think anybody's been doing. I mean, you got people like John Lee Dumas on there basically pitching his membership group, and we'll talk about that kind of stuff. But, you are broadcasting live. And then when you finish, you actually did a Q&A on Clubhouse.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's like, and I saw that I went and researched the piece of gear you bought. It was $39, at like Amazon or Sweetwater. And it's like, holy crap,
Yeah,
it's amazing. So let's tell the audience give me the Chris Voss version of what you think Clubhouse is, and I'll give the Brian Basilico version.
It's so early in the morning, I forgot my analogy. But basically, what Clubhouse really is, it's a consortium of rooms, if you will. You have a hallway where you have a lot of different events you can go to, and there's people on the dais. And so it's kind of like if you go to South by Southwest or CS or any sort of show, they'll have all these different. There's like a hallway or an area of different rooms they have of people that are presenting different topics and having interactions sometimes with the audience, or sometimes they're just blasting out from the stage. And you can pick your moderators, people come up on stage and talk, people ask questions of the panel. And so that's basically what it is. It's all audio. There's no video. There's no texting. It's all audio. It's kind of like listening to a podcast, only you can interact with people. And what's nice is there's no video. So you can, I mean, I've laid in bed sometimes just listening to Clubhouse or interacting with rooms. And they can't see you, so you can be doing whatever. Like a lot of times I just sit and work. So that's basically what it is. Sometimes the panel just they orientate to you and tell you how it is. Most of them take questions and there's interactions. It's a whole flow.
Now I've jumped on, I mean, you have your rooms, and one of the things about Clubhouse is there's a lot of famous people on there that you can talk to. I mean, that's the coolest thing. I've had John Lee Dumas on my show. And, the thing is he had an assistant book the time. I had 25 minutes with him, and they said, you get 25 minutes from the time he connects with you to the time you're done. That's it. And, and basically everything has to be formulaic. But, here he is, sitting up on a stage, and you can go up and raise your hand, and then they bring you up to the stage and you can ask questions. So for those of you who don't know what Clubhouse is, let me grab this and put the link up on the banners here. So the banner for Clubhouse is this right here. So it's joinclubhouse.com. Now, the one thing about Clubhouse is you have to have an invitation, number one. You can't just join right now. It's closed. And then secondly, it's on an iPhone only, right? Yeah, so those are the two biggest things. So if you're on a Android device or a Windows, if you're still using your Zune, it won't work. So that's the thing that you gotta remember the whole time. So there's the Chris Voss show again if you want to check that out. But anyway, so what I've found in Clubhouse is you get one of two things. You either get some really great, interesting conversation. Actually, three things. You get some really great conversations about stuff, about technology, about things. The other thing that you get is you get a giant pitch fest where everybody thinks they're going to be standing in the back of the room selling something. Or you get things like what you do, which is, fun. I mean, you basically have a comedy show on there for 4 or 5 hours. You never sleep, do you, man? Because you start your Clubhouse is at 10 o'clock at night. I get a ping from Chris Voss that says Chris Voss has started a room, and I jump in the room, and the next thing there's some woman in there trying to sell something called, what was it, Boobalicious?
Boobalicious, yeah, that's
yeah. It basically was anti-sweat stuff for women who have problems with bra sweat or something like that.
Yeah, bra sweat and deodorant. Yeah,
it was.
No, that's not a normal thing. I don't want to make. Everyone's going to show up now.
Where's the right? Exactly. No, but one of the things you did is you started this thing called the Zillionaire Club, because there are all these people, and this is true. You walk into some rooms and you get these guys with British accents, and they go, "Who wants to make 7 figures? Who wants to make 8 figures? Who wants to make 9 figures?" It's like they raise your hand. They're basically just pitchy. But you went the opposite direction. You said, how to be a zillionaire and be, completely lazy and boring and don't do anything. And it's fun.
Yeah, it's the thing I love about it is it's incredible networking. It's an incredible way to meet people. It has a great call to action because you put in your either your Twitter or Instagram or both. I wish there was more like LinkedIn connection, but they're working through that process. There's a big approval process. But
I got a hint for you on that one, dude. And I actually got that by being in a room. And that is in your profile at the very, very top. Just put your URL for your LinkedIn profile right there. And that way, as soon as people read your profile, they can copy and paste it. That was one thing that I did learn inside of Clubhouse. So anyway.
There you go. Of course, you do want to make sure that the first 3 lines are the most important because that's what people look at first before they click view profile. So I don't know which works better. I mean, suppose we need to experiment more. Yeah. But one thing I should mention, though, is there is one way to hack getting invited to Clubhouse if you have an iPhone. You still have to have an iPhone or iOS device, like an iPad. So what you do is, if you want to get into Clubhouse, this usually works. You have your friend who is on Clubhouse. He needs to make sure he has your phone in his phone before you apply to Clubhouse to get your Clubhouse account. And so you make sure he's got your number in the phone, and then sign up for Clubhouse, reserve your name, and then have him check the app for invites. And if you go in the invite section, you should see so-and-so has queued up for Clubhouse. Sometimes you got to give it like, hour, 15 minutes or something, sometimes right away. But you'll see the pop-up come, and it'll be like, do you want to let them in? And you can let them in without using your invites if you have any. Mm-hmm. And that's the way to get people in. It works pretty good. I actually had people, it took about an hour for it to coagulate if they had applied before I put their number in my phone. Mm-hmm. But it eventually kicked on, restarted a couple times and things. But that's actually a way to get in without having to wait.
That's cool, man. And I have, I've been on your groups a handful of times. I actually have met probably 4 or 5 guests I've already had on my podcast. It's people I never would have known about that got up on stage and started talking about some stuff. I mean, and one of them lives, her name is Blanca, and she lives in Greensboro, North Carolina, where my son lives. So I had a chat with her offline, said, what do you do? And she's on TV. She's on Channel 2. She does this thing like 4 days a week, and she talks about nonverbal communication, which is, in today's, world right now, like me, I'm sitting back in my chair, man, like I don't care, if I'm sitting here like this, it's like, you don't pay attention to that stuff, especially on, in Zoom, you're not thinking about that. You're on camera the whole time, and so I thought that would be a great topic. And so there was somebody that I met a guy who was into gamification out of England, and I had him on the show, and I've been playing with his tool, and he's got this Wheel of Fortune tool I talked about last week on this show. And you can do scratch off, so you can do that, and you can capture names on it. And I started playing with that, and I met another guy that was talking about something called Timbits and Timbit selling, and I met him on your show too. And Timbits are actually, Timbit selling is in United States. We have Dunkin' Donuts. In Canada, they have Tim Hortons. So we have Munchkins, they have Timbits. And, so guys would basically grab a box of Timbits and walk them into offices, and they can't do that anymore. So, how do you sell without, being able to physically walk in a bunch of donuts and get somebody's attention,
Yeah. Timbits are awesome, man. My friends have sent me those from Australia. And
stuff. Are they good?
Oh, dude. Like crack something.
Really? They're little.
They're the same thing I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Little chocolate things. Yeah, they're like really good. But Clubhouse is really awesome. You can flip around in different rooms. Like when you go to an event like South by, you go into a panel room, and then you go in there and you're like, I don't really feel this room, or I'm not really interested in this subject, or maybe you don't like the people on the panel or something, or in the audience. So you go to the next room, and so you can literally hop from room to room just by flicking your finger around,
right?
And find the room that kind of fits your mood or whatever. But yeah, we try and do a lot of funny stuff, a lot of networking stuff. The Zillionaire thing was kind of a parody because a lot of people are in the millionaire groups who are not millionaires, but they're pretending to be. A bit of fakery there. Social media, big surprise. Right. A lot of them are very successful. Grant Cardone's in there, and other successful guys. So I don't want to discount those folks, but so you hear some some weird business advice that if you've created a lot of businesses like you and I have, you just go, no, that's not going to work. Yeah. And you're not a millionaire. You've never been close to that figure. And so we did the Zillionaire thing just as a parody, and we created a parody improv troupe. I mean, you can literally do anything you want. It's like really the early days of Twitter right now. But now we do a lot of networking. We talk about podcasts, share notes, promote each other's podcasts, and ask questions. And wow, man, I've already saved a fortune. I mean, that's how I learned to live rig Clubhouse.
Yeah, see, that was totally cool. And I was in one of those podcast groups, and I've gone to, a bunch of ones on LinkedIn. I mean, there's a bunch of guys that are pretty heavy hitters on LinkedIn, and they're doing like rooms every single morning.
Really?
Yeah. And they're talking about, certain tips and techniques and things like that, and, I've gone in and listened to them, asked some questions, tried to get a couple of them on my podcast. And, things of that nature. But yeah, there's a lot to learn. As a matter of fact, Adam posted a couple of questions, and Adam's a dude. He's a salesman out of New Jersey, actually, who's somebody I met through other networking. Really great guy. And he says, with Clubhouse being an audio-only social channel, broadcasting your podcast live is a brilliant idea, especially when room sessions are not recorded in the app. Thanks for bringing that up. But one of the things is that when you are recording, you do have to notify everybody. It's in their terms of service. You got to be careful with that, right?
Really big deal for them. They don't want people recorded. They want people to feel comfortable. I actually said I was going to record a room one time, and like almost everyone left.
Bailed.
And I'm like, I wasn't recording the screen, but the beautiful part about it that I don't think most people realize is you can go there and be an expert. You can talk about what you're good at, and of course you can make stuff up if you want, unfortunately. But if you're an expert, or at least you have some knowledge that you can contribute to a discussion, you can do that. And one of the problems I have with social media these days, like Instagram and TikTok, is I don't have big boobs, I don't have a bikini, I don't have the hotness to compete with the Kim Kardashian mode of TikTok, YouTube, and that anymore. So people judge me on how I look. I mean, I'm an older fat guy too. I get that on YouTube all the time. If I appear on camera, oh, look, it's a fat guy.
Yeah, but when it comes to old fat guys, man, you're an idol. I mean,
well, that's true. I'm a god of fat guys. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
But everyone knows that. What if I become president? Wow, where did that come from?
Boom.
That's gonna have to end. Maybe I'm just gonna start parodying that.
Wait a minute, we got to steer this back on the road, dude.
Okay, so anyway, so the great thing about Clubhouse is you can talk about your expertise and what you're good at, and people aren't looking at you, judging you. They might be looking at your avatar, and maybe they're looking at your links, but they're hearing your voice and your expertise first. And so they're not judging you going, well, I don't know, man, you just look like you've had too many McDonald's burgers, and what do you really know? And so there actually is a beauty in that when you really don't think about it, and there's a lot of times where people make all sorts of, inclusive nature biases or unconscious biases, like, oh, I don't like the way that person looks, or maybe they're not attractive enough, so I'm not sure that they have any value in their information. And so for me, I really love it from that factor, because people have to value it from your audio. Yeah,
there's a reason why I do a podcast, not a video show, man. Somebody pinging me on Clubhouse again. They want you to come do a room. They want you to come speak.
No, it's another OnlyFans group. I started an OnlyFans because everyone has an OnlyFans, right? These days, you got one too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Clubhouse and OnlyFans. It's the two hottest things to have. So yeah, it's just people wanting me to do my bikini show.
Nice. I like it. Yeah. And the reason I do a podcast, because I've always said I got a face for radio. I've always been a radio guy,
Even me, radio face.
Yeah. So, and it's better. Hey, let's put it this way. It's better to have a radio face than radio head, right?
This is my money maker here, people.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for my voice, I'd be screwed.
So, and Adam mentioned something else too. He had another question. He said something about
Adam.
Yeah, Adam's he's interactive.
Adam, you're awesome, man.
He is awesome. I like Adam. He does. He's one of those kind of guys. He comments a lot. He gets involved. He says,
"Is he still with Eve?"
No. I don't think so. Yeah,
sorry,
he is.
My condolences, Adam.
I mean, Adam, if you are with Eve, I'm sorry.
Don't worry. There's a million chicks in the world, man. Efficiency. No. You help make that. Actually, that's kind of weird.
Thank you. Not
you, Adam.
Yeah. Well, he did.
Try and keep up, Brian.
No, I'm trying. You won't let me read the damn question. He said, in the settings under world affairs, there's a category about climate. So most likely there are people in that room to discuss those type of issues. So, obviously they have different categories. They have different types of rooms. So it's not just social media, LinkedIn, there's all kinds of stuff in there, right?
Yeah. There's people that talk about relationships and dating. There's some weird groups that talk about, everything in the sun you can find in there pretty much at this point. It's become big enough. I think they're approaching 2 million people. That's the last number I've heard. And they're just growing rapidly. I mean, but yeah, everyone's talking about anything under the sun, investment. And there's people that have got invest in Africa. I'm not sure. You might want to check with your Nigerian princes to see if it's legitimate. But no, there's actually a lot of real people that are in there. You have to be a real person to get in. And there's lots of experimentation going on. It really reminds me of the early days of Twitter in 2007, 2008.
And the cool thing about it is you can walk in, like you said, you can walk in, you could sit and listen. Okay. You can raise your hand. You can actually get up on stage and ask questions. And sometimes if you're, a influencer, quote unquote, like you, not only do you get pulled up on stage, but then on top of that, you end up getting, left on stage to answer questions. So all of a sudden it raises your profile,
Yeah.
And the other thing I found on there, which I think is really interesting too, is there's very niche groups. One of the people that I met through you, she was in the automotive business. It was a woman in the automotive business doing social media. And when I started talking to her, I found out that there's a whole niche of automotive dealers and things on Clubhouse. That's all they talk about is, how to run dealers. And one of the things she talked about last year in the pandemic, during the podcast interview I did, is that, a lot of dealers, when they get those responses on their website about, hey, I'm looking for, a Ford Fairlane 1968 green, something like that. There was a call center person inside the dealership that literally would do it because the salespeople would never call people back. And what happened is as the business started kind of, having a tougher time because of the COVID and social distancing and things like that, they let everybody in their call centers go. So they still had some of the salespeople, but they didn't have anybody in the call center. So she jumped into action and immediately started call centers for auto dealers. So they would actually get the requests and then jump in and actually take the phone calls. And if the phone calls were legit, then they'd forward them on to a salesperson and take it from there. So she found a niche based on, that kind of stuff. So it's pretty damn cool.
Yeah. So they have what they call the hallway, where you can see a list of all the different groups and clubs that are hosting rooms, they call them. And then you can jump into the room. And like what you say is, if you get recognized, like I usually get recognized at the Chris Voss show, people are like, yeah, Chris Voss show in the room. They'll bring you up on stage and they'll ask you to moderate. And of course you moderate, but a lot of times you're sharing information, and a lot of times you're sitting and listening and you're going, wow, that's actually a really good idea. I've probably saved a fortune already on Clubhouse, being able to network and then also being able to do the thing. But then they also have clubs. And so clubs, after you've been on there for a while, you can apply for a club. They're still a little bit behind on scaling. There's still like 9 employees or something. And you can apply for a club. And so you can name it the Bacon and Coffee Show with Brian or whatever you want to do. There's a Chris Voss Show club pending. We're just waiting for the approval on. And so once you get that club, people can join your club. And so they'll get notifications every time you start a room. You can create multiple admins. If I made you an admin of the Chris Voss Show, maybe I'm asleep or I'm off doing whatever, you can start a show on behalf of the Chris Voss Show and rep it and run it and all that good stuff. And so you basically have these clubs. And I think the biggest one right now, we had Podcast Magazine, Steve O. Olsher, I think it is. Steve, I'll just call him Steve O. Not that Steve O. But a Podcast Magazine, we had him on our show, and I think he has the biggest club now, and I think it's like 21 or 22,000 members. So you can have your club just like you have a LinkedIn group or a fan group on Facebook, and then the club has all these members in it that join, and it's kind of like a mailing list, really, if they're on. And then you can send it out, bang them, harass them, say join my room, and then you set up your rooms whenever you want. And the rooms, I think the longest room, we had some folks on to talk about it on the podcast as well. The longest room that I think has been run right now is 20 days, where the room's been run that long.
Wow.
And they had 24/7 mods. They had the whole thing back channel controlled with the mods and stuff. And they literally ran it for like 24/7. Like I've had things that have run close to 12 hours. And it's just crazy. And the audience kind of takes it and runs with it. Like the audience will totally turn into, like, it's almost like sometimes like being a comedian where you get on stage and you do like 5 minutes of your material and the audience just goes and plays with it and does their own thing. And they just expand on your stuff you gave them. And you're standing on stage going, well, that was fun, man. You guys can just take it from here.
Yeah, no, that is totally cool. And so what are some of the, what are some of the things that you found at a Clubhouse that have been a boon for you? I mean, have you gotten more listeners to your
Got more
podcast?
listeners to the podcast. The cool thing with Clubhouse, and it's probably even cooler because it hasn't been fully developed yet. They'll probably have messaging systems and back
Right.
channels eventually, like any app, but they don't have that. So people will go to your bio when they see if you're interested. And a lot of times I walk into a room and I just use the billboard of the Chris Voss show on the icon. And I'll just sit there. And so people will see your icon. They'll be like, what does this guy do? They'll look at your bio. There's the 2 click to actions, either Instagram and or Twitter. And so people will follow you over there. And I love that because the broadcast goes into Twitter. We broadcast live into Instagram.
Nice.
And then they'll read more about you. And usually they're following you on LinkedIn. They're following your podcast. And I got to tell you, I've never seen anything that converts like this. And maybe it's the early days of networking and won't stay this way. But man, all people on the show, they're back channeling me. They're following me on LinkedIn. They're following me on Instagram and messaging me, following me on Facebook. And there's so much of your bio you can put in here. But yeah, it's been incredibly valuable. I've gotten I think 200 or 300 more followers in a couple weeks on Instagram, which isn't bad because I don't do a bikini show. And then there's people following the podcast, and you'll talk to people. They're like, yeah, I'm following your podcast. That looks awesome. You can talk about it. But yeah, it's extraordinary. And some of the serendipity of it in the groups is quite extraordinary. You just never know what you're going to get. And some of the times it's real gold.
Yeah, and it's, the bottom line is just like a Saturday or Sunday, it's easy to pop in, pop out. At night, it's easy to pop in, pop out. I mean, it's a lot of people that start first thing in the morning. So, but I also have seen people, like anything else, get addicted to it.
Yeah.
There was one woman who was talking, like she was trying to explain to her husband what she was doing all day. I'm looking for a job on Clubhouse. It's like, really?
Yeah.
And just a side note, Rick Tashman said, he joined, how do I get an invite? I just sent him an invite, by the way. So I sent it to your phone. If your phone number is not correct, just hit me up on LinkedIn. I'll send you a new one.
What's that phone number again?
My phone number?
No, the one for
it's all over the place.
No,
yeah, no, I hear you. But it's like Clubhouse is so, I mean, it's so new, but the thing is you get to meet people that you have not met in other platforms. One of the things about Clubhouse that I think that most people don't understand is they don't necessarily have an algorithm like Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter, where they feed you what they want to feed you. You get to control the narrative. You get to figure out what room you want to go to. There's not you'll get some of their algorithm will say, hey, this room is happening now, go check it out. You'll get notifications. But once you get in there, man, it's free range chicken time.
Yeah, you're right. It's and I'm not sure how they'll do the algorithm, but maybe eventually they'll get real militaristic like Facebook. But people put up rooms. Sometimes you put up a room for 15 minutes. Sometimes you put up for an hour. Sometimes you're putting it up for 12 hours. I mean, there's some rooms that are pretty much running 24/7. I think nowadays, and they just go on and on because you've constantly got new people that are filtering in. You've got people that will filter out. You've got people you bring up on stage. You've got different discussions. Sometimes the discussion goes a different way than the topic you had in the room. Because
the Boobalicious one actually was in a podcast. Somebody was asking serious questions about what are the biggest things you have about podcasts, and it's like all of a sudden that came out of nowhere and then went completely, again, took a left turn and kept going down that side road until you finally just, reeled it back in and it went back to real talking about podcasts.
Yeah. Well, she had a real product, and we do a thing where we do a podcast Q&A and you get to intro yourself. So we allow people to come up on stage. A lot of people are forced to sit in audiences, and I don't really have fun in those rooms. I like to actually meet people, just like the show. This is why we do a show, is we like meeting people. And so I like to meet people, find out how they tick, and so they'll introduce themselves. And so I think we were going around the room, having everyone introduce themselves, kind of like, what did you do this summer? And they get to plug their wares, their podcast. And she's like, yeah, I run this Boobalicious women's deodorant for women's boobs called Boobalicious. And she's in Europe, and I didn't know that was a problem. But it's a legit
product. Yeah.
It's a legit product. And she sells it, and she does incredibly well with it, evidently. But good for her. I mean, who knew there was market share in in between those two peaks.
Mhm.
Yeah, we've had all sorts of serendipitous moments. I'm friends with two porn stars now. We had
Nice.
people came in the room, and it turns out two of them were professional porn stars,
Mhm.
and it didn't turn stupid or weird. I don't run that kind of room. There are some rooms that are a little more goof offy, and that
Yeah.
probably would have turned into a whole porn discussion. But we actually had a very serious professional discussion. It's kind of interesting. They have the same sort of problems a lot of people do in like
Sure.
affiliate markets with credit card processing and how they market and how they do stuff. And they were there to learn too about marketing and building their audience, and
Mhm.
and they're not just porn stars. They're people that have written books. They do consulting for what they do. I mean, they're
Mhm.
just like you or I, selling social media or
Right.
podcasting or whatever people are selling. And we've sat for hours with them on several different occasions. They've even hosted rooms, and really everyone's respectful for the most part. And we talk about it as a business,
Mhm.
and we treat them as business people. And it's really interesting to talk to them and have them on the show. That's just like an example
Yeah.
of the serendipity that you meet people and you're just like, wow. I've had Salesforce's CEO, is it Mark Benioff, in my rooms.
Mhm.
We
You've
were
had
doing
Scotty from Scotty Vest too.
Scott from Scotty Vest, my good friend.
Mhm.
Love Scotty Vest. And in fact, what was ironic was we were doing the parody show, the
The
Zillionaire
Zillionaire.
Club, where
Yes.
everyone's a zillionaire, and it's so easy to make the money. We'll teach you how. And we're we're joking, the whole thing about the Zillionaire Club is we don't mess with millionaires and billionaires. That's just low class for us, man.
Yeah, you
We're
gotta have a
zillionaires.
zillion, and
Yeah,
you have to do nothing. I mean, you have
top
to
of the
make
food chain.
a zillion
Zillion
dollars
dollars.
by being as absolutely lazy as possible.
So the funniest thing was we're running this group. We got like 300 people in there, and we're just laughing, and we're doing the whole bits that we have for the Zillionaire Club. And Mark Benioff, is that his name, of Salesforce, comes in. We have a billionaire coming into our room to find out how to become a zillionaire.
Right,
And I'm sure
exactly.
he's like looking at it, going, "Well, I'm a billionaire, but what the hell is
A
this going
zillionaire,
on?"
right? Yeah.
And he hung out for a while, and I was trying to see, I don't know what his comedy level is, but I was trying to see if I could get him on stage. I invited him on stage and was trying to get him up. And I said to the mic, I said, "Oh, Mark's here. We'd love you to come on stage if you want. We understand you're a billionaire, and we'll train you how to be a zillionaire."
Yeah.
And he didn't bite. And after, some time, he wandered off.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
he's got to protect his brand. I mean, he's got
yeah, I
pretty.
mean, he doesn't want to come on stage with a bunch of
Yeah,
idiots.
no. I understand, but the Scotty Vest one was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We got one
Mhm.
question too. Phil was asking, what have you heard about it being available on Android? I mean, is there any buzz
Mhm.
about that? In the
What's really cool about these guys is they're very different than Jack and Ev and Biz, the three clowns that started the clown car crash into success, Twitter.
yes,
These guys are smart on Clubhouse. They're not those three bozos. And so they're not infighting. They're not doing all the things. If you ever read the stories, they're listening to their community. So they get on, I think it's every Saturday, Sunday, and they have a community thing.
I've seen it. Yeah,
Yeah. And they'll sit and talk and answer questions from the community, and they'll listen. And so it's really great. In fact, back in the early days, they would sit and listen for hours or up to a day just so they could understand their community. And so they're
Mhm.
really good at listening and shaping. I'm really impressed with them. And so they'll have these community things. And so they're talking to the community. They're letting them know what's going on. There's a complete interaction that just make people feel more connected to them and what they're doing. And there's some transparency, if you will. But one of the problems is they're going through what Twitter or any massive, any hit company goes through, like Instagram, et cetera, et cetera. They're going through massive growth. They're only 9 employees. They are backed by Mark Andreessen's, I forget, is it Z16? They're backed by his VC thing group, and I think a few others. So they've got the money. But they're just trying to scale like a mother, and
yeah.
they're trying to just keep up at this point. So
I'm sure it's a bandwidth issue too, man. Because I mean, one of the things most people don't think about is these social media companies. I mean, they're tied into racks and racks of Amazon servers in order to keep
Yeah.
this stuff going. I mean, I've seen Clubhouse go down a few times,
Yeah,
because
they recently went down, but they're like I think they're valued at 100 billion or 10 billion or something like that now. They're just getting exponentially
yeah,
going through the roof. But they've got the money to do it. They just have to hire the people.
right.
And with Android, you've got to do the research because there's so many different variants. But they'll get there. But it might be 6 months the way they're going. I mean,
Yeah.
they've hit gold and there's oil
Yeah.
spewing out.
Absolutely, yeah. The
Like,
bottom line is, in the short term,
that.
go find an old iPad. Just
Yeah.
it's the simplest. Or go buy an old iPhone, and you don't necessarily need. All you need is Wi-Fi. You don't need the
Yeah.
the cellular.
Now, one thing about that, because I had to borrow a newer iPhone from one of my VC friends, one of the things it does have to have is iOS 13 or higher.
Okay.
And one of my old iPad Airs is like 12.8, and it got left behind because Apple doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
And
Amazing.
so you do have to have at least iOS 13 on it.
Yeah, and back to the Scotty Vest thing. We were doing the Zillionaire show, and Scotty was on stage, and I suggested, basically you said, let's give him some really great ways to improve his product and make some more money. And I remember coming on, and I said, I think you need to make a Scotty Vest that is completely transparent. That you could put all of your stuff in, so you could drop your iPhone in one and, your iPad the other, and your wallet. And that way it's transparent, so everybody can see how cool you are of all the gear that you've got, walking around. Yeah. He didn't like that idea.
Well, what we do, let's explain the premise of what we do there. So Scott Jordan runs ScottyVest.com, good friend of mine, love him, brilliant guy. But he basically makes these coach jackets and pants and underwear and stuff that have pockets in them. That's his thing. Scotty Vest, he's all about pockets, and in some of these vests he has like up to 17 hidden pockets, sometimes RFID stuff, so you literally, when you're walking around, you can have pockets for all your electronics. There's a different places where you can actually route a headphone cord through the pockets, and wherever you're listening to, up in your headphones. This is brilliant design on everything he's done. And so with the Zillionaire Club, we'll host what we call Sardine Tank. And it's a play on Shark Tank. And instead of having people come up and give their brilliant business ideas, which that they actually do that in some of the rooms, you can actually pitch people that are millionaires. We do the opposite, where we have you pitch the worst business idea you can think of, and you pitch it in the format like you're going on Shark Tank, only you're on Sardine Tank. And then, of course, we play the roles of Mark Cuban and stuff, and we just, we do stupid stuff like, I'll give you 150% of your stock and $10,000. Just count me in. And then you fight over stuff like that. Stupid. It's just like,
but the whole point, it's fun. It's a fun diversion. It's something different than
So we were pitching Scott the worst business ideas ever for his Scotty Vest brand, and he was playing along really nicely and just going, yeah, that's the dumbest idea ever. Which is ironic, because Scott has been on Shark Tank,
right?
And he's famous for being one of the early guys to just tell them all to blow it out their butt. And he's like, he actually tells them, no, I'm not working with you. No, I'm not working with you. No, you're denied. No, you're fired. That sort of thing. And he like walks off, and he calls Voss, who I think is on his board, the famous co-engineer or whatever of Apple, and he calls Voss, and Voss is like, you should do what you want to do. And the funny thing is, it's a highly sourced or watched video, because he basically tells them all to blow it and walk, and they're in shock. No one's told them at this point in the show to just, no, I'm not doing business with you.
Yeah, some of the other famous ones include Ring. I mean, the guy from Ring, and which obviously got bought by Amazon, a whole bunch of other cool stuff. And one of my favorite caption contests, for those of you who are not familiar with me on the Facebook side of things, I actually have fun over there as opposed to LinkedIn, where I'm posting, good quality information on LinkedIn. I try and have great guests like you, man. Thank you for coming on the show. I can't even begin to tell you how cool it is talking to you this morning. So, but one of my favorite caption contest commenters said that Boobalicious is only available in 2-packs. So he was actually doing research while we were sitting here talking about some other stuff.
We should have posted affiliate links for that, man. What are we doing? Right?
I think we should, I mean, and yeah, as a matter of fact, if my affiliate links, just so everybody has it, then I got to put it up because I actually have a banner for it. I mean, so my affiliate links is brianloves.info. It should be brianloves.info, man. I got to change that. It's brianloves.info, not brianloves.com. So I'll fix that. But if you go to brianloves.info, see, the cool thing about this is now I can save it.
There you go.
And hit enter.
Yeah.
There we go.
I actually have an OnlyFans channel that's like Boobalicious, only it's onlyfans.com/moobs.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. So I should actually get that and put it on brianloves.info so I get some affiliate income on it. Man.
If you actually look that link up, shame on you.
Yeah.
There probably is some hot chick at that link. It's like, I just made a sale for her.
Yeah, something like that. Well, maybe you could have her on, one of your shows. Because she might have a book. You never know, right?
Well, yeah, it's all about the book.
Yeah. So, so what do you think is the future? Where does Clubhouse go? Because right now it's like you say, man, it's a great toy. It's an awesome toy. The future that's like in the year 2000. In the year 2000.
Yeah, Bill Conan bit.
Yep.
And there's people that talk about all this stuff on there. The future of Clubhouse or the future of the world?
All the above, man. Let's start with Clubhouse and then the future of the world. Because I mean, the future of the world is, it's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine.
Yeah. I'll wear my sunglasses at night. Clubhouse, I sincerely see, unless they exit that thing and sell it to a big company, like Elon Musk was on the other night. There was huge rooms filled. Mark Zuckerberg was on sniffing around. He was on there going, "Who do I give a check to for this thing, man?
Yeah, right.
I want to buy it. I buy everything."
That's right.
Who do I give a check to? That's not even how he talks. Like, why is that? People in the audience right now are going like, that's not even the right impression, dude. It's more like some sort of insult impression.
Yeah, I like the SNL impression of him.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, what's funny is they actually over animate him on that, so that's what's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, the rest of the time he has that whole looking in the deer in the eyes headlight, like, what do I do now? Am I okay? Am I still a billionaire?
Yeah.
I have no clue what's going on. Have I exploited everyone yet? Anyway, so they had all these brilliant people on here. I sincerely, it feels so much like the early days of Twitter. But actually, the one problem Twitter had was you would get on Twitter and then you quit because you're like, this is stupid. It doesn't make any sense. No one's responding to me. And then 3 months, you'd be like, everyone's talking about Twitter. And you go back and like, I figured this out. And you eventually figure it out, but it's kind of annoying. But with this, you get it. And part of it is because everyone's so used to the Zoom lifestyle. You join a room, you talk on Zoom. The problem is you got to look beautiful, like guys like you and me. You got to look really hot on camera. You got to own it, and you got to have. Dude,
I took a shower and I shaved just for you today. Because normally I'm in my dress sweats.
Did you do your legs though? Because
I did.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I always do my legs, man.
Yeah,
I have to.
I don't show up to podcast. That's
I'm a runner.
That's actually in my rider that people have to shave their legs before I come on their podcast.
Yeah, and it's but dude, I'm a runner, so I have to, the wind resistance of leg hair is bad. You can't do that.
Yeah, there you go. I'll take your word for it. So I see a huge future this for us. Now,
I do too.
Full disclaimer. Through the history of me watching social media companies and people who claim to have the latest Facebook killer, anytime one of these social media companies sells out, they usually don't do well, and usually they die. I think Instagram may be the only exception to that, but Google Plus, anything that's owned by a conglomerate, conglomerate, will do poorly after it's bought out. MySpace, as soon as it was bought out by, I think, News Corp or one of those different brands owned by what's his face, the big billionaire who owns Fox News, it died once it got bought. Google Plus had kind of initial flash in the pan. There's lots of social media things that died. Anytime you're owned by a conglomerate, just people don't care as much as entrepreneurs. They just don't go for it. They know the checks are going to clear at the end of the week. Same thing with LinkedIn. I'm sorry. Once Microsoft bought it, they really ruined it. not happy about it.
I'm not disagreeing, and there's certain reasons for it. I mean, there's certain things about they've ruined the experience. I mean, they've killed groups, they've killed a lot of other things. They're still, and it's all in the algorithms. But the bottom line is Microsoft don't care because they make 75% of their money on jobs. I mean, that's the whole purpose behind this thing.
Yeah, they really lost the narrative of what a social media is.
Well, they lost the social media platform, and now it's an advertising platform, which is usually
trying to catch up like Twitter, and they're way behind. I mean, they've been working on live video for what, 2 years now or something.
Yeah,
and it's just, I mean, don't get me into it.
Well, so anyway. it took me forever to get this show. I mean, I've been applying, and I mean, I was one of the first 1,000 people on the platform in 2004. And I kept going to them, and it's like, I'm spending money left and right for customers on ads and doing, classes on it. And the one thing about LinkedIn Live is you can't come on and talk about LinkedIn. It's like you can do. Yeah, that's one of the that's actually in their terms.
Are we doing that right now though?
Yes, we are. Yeah, but you can do a little bit of it, but but we're on LinkedIn Live, so we're promoting LinkedIn, right?
I'd spend more money advertising on LinkedIn, but since I don't get live video, I have issues. But so anyway,
but if you spend a lot of money, they give you a live video. That's the way it works, dude.
No, I mean, you can do that. I'll let you do that. I'm not spending my clients' money over here. When they give me live video, we'll talk, and the newsletter too. So anyway, what's funny is I was given a journalist account and went to the journalist seminar, and we were promised those things, and we still haven't got them as journalists, which is weird because it was 2 of the 4 major principles. So, but I love LinkedIn. There's an old love that I have for LinkedIn, I should say. It's kind of like that old dog that you keep around, and there's ways to make money. And it's still a great platform. I still have a huge group on here that I built from zero. And hopefully they'll get it together. But yeah, anytime these big companies buy someone out, it doesn't go well. I mean, even Instagram, yes, did pretty good under Facebook, but they've had to deal with Facebook's limits in making sure that they don't compete with them. And I think the people at Facebook or Instagram have talked about how they could have done maybe a whole lot more. And a lot of people have talked about how if they had waited longer, they might have become a more powerhouse or sold for a bigger thing. But the challenge is Facebook can close that distance and take you if they want to do something sometimes. So I'm hoping that these guys are smart, that they keep this as a vertical like Twitter. And they're running way better than Twitter in the early days. And so I hope they keep this a vertical and they don't sell it. But that's their choice. Their founders, they have to deal with their VCs and stuff. But Mark Andreessen's a really smart guy. I think he sees the potential for this. But the addiction factor is insane. Like we'll joke and we'll call it the crack house. And when I first got on, I'd enter rooms, and I was hearing about it everywhere. I'd enter rooms, and there'd be people like, "I've been up for 3 days," and I'm like, "What is there like a meth heads on this thing or something?" Because
but see, have you seen the Social Dilemma? They talk about how they use algorithms to basically draw you in. The thing about this, there is no algorithm, and it is that addicting. I know people that have spent 24 hours on the platform, so. And I think if it stays native to what it is right now, the biggest thing they're going to be able to do is sell ads in rooms, and it's not going to be that hard to monetize. I mean, it's like, you go to a room, you get an ad, and then you get in the room, it's like not that hard. And
there's already offbeat monetization going on already. I mean, you'll see accounts that have pay accounts. I mean, there's some people that have done like drawings or giveaways. Some people have sent money to people that are struggling or something. And then you can, sometimes there's actually rooms that are so popular and so huge, you can get in front of such an audience. You actually pay somebody and send me a PayPal to get on as a moderator, introduce yourself and send this. There's lots of monetization going on.
Patreon, all those kind of fun things. And so, dude, we literally have 1 minute left. Okay. So I want to just, people want to get a hold of you because it's been that much fun, man. Can you believe we've been talking for an hour? I told you a minute and here you are, man. 59. You ate up 59 of them.
I ate them. The podcast, the bacon and coffee, ate it up.
Yes.
They can go to chrisvoss.com and see all our stuff, or thecvpn.com if they want to subscribe to the podcast. Check it out. It's cool, funny, man. Too. There's some funny there.
Yeah, there's some great interviews, by the way, people. So go check it out, drink some coffee, have some bacon. Chris, man, thank you again so much for coming on the show. It was a blast, dude. You're a fun dude to talk to. I appreciate it. I think the audience dug it too. So we will talk soon. And here comes the close. The song that I wrote, by the way. Here we go.